from first round pick a year ago to the big leagues, and he's a big dude. The name's Jac Caglianone, and he's going to play in the outfield for the Royals. JJ, should we get excited for a potential monster impact from the jump for Kansas City's offense?
Well, yeah, because the great news about this, if you're a Royals fan and you're watching this, and you ask the question, can Jack provide an impact in our outfield offensively? The bar is low. Last I checked, Kyle Isbell has 3 home runs. That leads all Royals outfielders. They don't have anyone in double digits in home runs, period. So Jack has had weeks where he hits 4 or 5 home runs in the minors. Obviously, he may not do as much of that in the majors, but it would not be crazy if Jack ended up leading this team in home runs this year. That's the kind of power we're talking about. We can talk about his defense in the outfield. That's going to be probably a work in progress. He's not particularly fast, but the power is 100% legit. No question about the power. And Geoff, the other thing that you keep talking about, we have a piece up at baseballamerica.com today talking about this. We've talked about chase rate and all of Jack, but at least in the minor leagues, that's really never coming back to bite him.
Yeah, and I think, that could be a matter of maybe improved discipline to an extent, improved approach at the plate, maybe just being cognizant of the fact that he's facing more quality competition than he even faced in the SEC, at least on a more consistent, regular basis, the bullpens, et cetera. He's also been in AAA, so though for a very short period of time, has seen the highest level of the minors. I do think you sort of point to what the chase rate was in AAA, and that's kind of in line with what it was at lower levels. It's around like 33%, which is above average. But I think when you have the level of quality of contact that Jack has, you have the bat to ball skills that Jack has, and you do attack pitches and strikes in the zone as consistently as Caglianone does, I think that sort of puts you in a position to make the most of those swings and those opportunities. It's the reason that he attacks the way that he does. It will be interesting to see how the approach sort of lands and settles in after an extended period of time in the majors. I don't think he's going to be going back down. He kind of talked a little bit about the struggles in terms of the outfield and the lack of depth there for the Royals. This guy does add a new dimension in terms of what he can do with a single swing of the bat. I will be interested to see once the book is out there, and we've seen this happen to guys like Christian Campbell, who had pretty good plate skills in their run through the minors, which was actually a little bit longer, though it was short, longer than Jack's. I think that's where the rubber really meets the road. And I think that's the point that we're waiting for. And that will really determine for me whether, he can be this monster that we've seen, like this Judgian, Stantonian sort of power hitter in the making, or if he's going to be a guy that does struggle with some of his approach, swings himself into outs, and some of the stuff that were concerns coming into the draft does come to fruition. I'll say it's leaning more toward the former than the latter at this point. And then obviously, I do think the defense might be a little bit of an adventure. I know JJ and I talked a little bit about this in the prospect pod last week. And it was, it's not awful. He's got skills out there, but it's questionable just in terms of the way the routes are run and the way he makes some of those catches. And there's a lot smaller margin for error in the majors.
Hey, from someone who knows how to pitch, he's not going to be a big league pitcher. I'm excited to see the arm component because we're going to see that thing unleashed in the outfield. Go ahead.
That's one thing that we have noticed a little bit. Like, I haven't seen him unleash it. I've watched every play he's made in the outfield this year, and I've yet to see one throw where you go, wow, that's a plus arm. That doesn't mean it's not in there, but we do remember his velo really tailed off at the end of his season at Florida last year. If you told me that his arm's not 100% right now, it wouldn't shock me. He is the ideas of him being a two-way pitcher kind of went away pretty quickly. I'll be interested to see. Again, all I can tell you on that, we had Jack on the show a while back. I haven't asked him about his arm in the outfield. He hadn't played in the outfield at that point, but I haven't seen that happen yet in the minor leagues. We'll be interested to see if it happens in the majors.
JJ, I want to go back to the chase percentage conversation. I'm going to paraphrase and relay something that his now current manager, Matt Quatraro, the manager of the Royals Big League Club, said about him and his wingspan. He said that chase percentage for someone like him can be deceiving because he has a long wingspan, and sometimes he has seen him hit a pitch off the plate and turn it into, say, opposite field power. You can see that from anyone, but the point was that he's a freak in terms of the physical attributes. And sometimes a chase percentage for someone like him should be looked at a little bit differently. Of course, if he's going for a pitch way off the plate, the quality of contact is going to hurt. But do you see a point there with someone like him being an outlier and being able to handle certain pitches out of the zone for legitimate power?
100%. This is something Geoff, I think, actually talked about on a Hot Sheet show last year, even made the point. There may be some Vlad Guerrero Sr. type skills here where you say, okay, he swings sometimes at pitches that he shouldn't swing at, but how do you complain about that when it ends up as a double or a homer or a single? The piece that we have up at Baseball America today makes the point. If it's in the zone, Jac is swinging. Jac was swinging in AAA at 82% of all pitches in the zone. That's extremely aggressive. Yeah, he does chase, but he actually also has a pretty good understanding of the strike zone. When you consider he's a little bit above average in his chase rate in AAA so far, considering that he swings at everything in the zone, that kind of shows that he also does have some understanding of how to turn it off. The other thing that kind of strikes me about all this is, and I want to give Mark Chiarelli on our staff credit for this, because he was talking at one point to an evaluator who made the point, he needs to come up to the majors probably because these challenges, the questions that he still needs to resolve aren't going to be resolved in the minors. And this is something we've heard about a number of guys recently is this like, you know what? Bring him up to the big leagues and there may be some adjustments. There may be some, like we're seeing with Christian Campbell, sometimes where he goes through slumps. But the point that this evaluator is making was that's not going to happen in the minors. AAA is not going to provide that challenge. The only way he's going to get through that is to face big league pitching. And hey, let's see what he can do. And maybe he never goes through that, but we can feel pretty confident he's going to have some of the best. Now, the Royals are not a team that have produced a ton of sluggers. That ballpark is not really conducive to massive power sluggers. Jac could be very quickly one of the best sluggers to play at Kansas City in a very long time.
Yeah, hey, the Royals ballpark, the K, couldn't really hold Jorge Soler, I think, that 1 year. So that kind of power can play anywhere. That's what Royals fans are hoping for. And I think the more that we talk about this, the more you look at the Royals outfield right now and the lack of production for them and the need that they've had really for several years now. And it's not like he's taking the place of someone who should be playing every day. They do not have 3 first division caliber outfielders right now in terms of offensive production. So this is just such a need for a playoff contender. I'm very excited about it. We have many other top prospects to cover. And by the way, we did a prospect profile on Jac Caglianone, which we dove deep into the tools. And so I encourage you to check that out on the Baseball America YouTube channel. You can find it if you just type in his name.